Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really fun team featuring Life Orb Articuno as well as Choice Scarf Spectrier, Weakness Policy Solgaleo, and Leftovers Kyogre. This is built by a player called Carmine, so thank you to them very much for the team. Please go check them out on Twitter, linked in the description below, as well as rental and paste courtesy of them as well. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team before getting into the battles. If you just want to skip to the action, check out the timestamps linked in the description below. Thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what your favorite shiny Pokemon is because the Articuno on this team is shiny, and even though it's pretty similar to regular Articuno, I actually think it looks really sick. So one of my answers is definitely Cresselia, but let me know yours in the comment section below. So you're probably wondering, okay, why in the world would you want to use Articuno, right? It is not a restricted Pokemon, and it also is very frail despite being a legendary Pokemon. Actually has a lot of common weaknesses, right? Like electric or rock, for example. Well, there are a couple of answers. The first one is that Articuno gets access to Freeze Dry. Freeze Dry is really powerful in countering Pokemon like Gastrodon, and Gastrodon is actually one of the more popular non-restricted picks right now because it's really good into Zacian plus Kyogre, and also just very good into Kyogre by itself. As you can see, this team has a Calm Mind Kyogre, and so you really get messed up when you go up against Gastrodon because this Kyogre is a Pokemon that likes to maybe get a Calm Mind or two off and then Dynamax, but of course Gastrodon will just stop you immediately from doing very much. So Articuno, first of all, is valuable because you've got a really powerful Freeze Dry and you can knock out Gastrodon. You also have Hurricane and Weather Ball. Weather Ball, I think, is really neat because it allows you to actually deal significant damage when the rain is up to things like Incineroar, for example, damage that people often aren't expecting. And then Hurricane just synergizes really nicely with the Kyogre here as well. Finally, you've got Tailwind, and so Tailwind just offers, obviously, speed control. And I think Articuno is one of those Pokemon where, like, if I went up against it, I'd just be like, I straight up don't know what to expect right now because it's so uncommon. So it's like, it has all of these great features that I just listed, and to add on top, you have, like, the surprise factor, which often goes a long way in best of one in competitive Pokemon, because, like, Pokemon's all about, trying to guess what your opponent is going to do and playing to your best of your ability to stop that. But with Articuno, it's like, well, if you haven't really seen this Pokemon very much, you might just have no idea what's coming your way, right? And so, yeah, it's got decent base speed, and so Tailwind's really valuable with a team like this where Kyogre and Solgaleo aren't like the slowest, but they're also not the fastest. And so it also can be a Dynamax option to give your Kyogre and Solgaleo more speed as well. The two main restricted Pokemon on this team are Solgaleo and Kyogre. This is classic weakness policy Solgaleo. It doesn't have too much attack investment. You've got more in bulk and more in speed, and the idea is to combine it with Choice Scarf Spectrier. Scarf Spectrier is really nice because it just outspeeds everything. No one expects it. And so Focus Sash is by far the most common item normally when I see it, although maybe it's shifted a little bit in the early meta with this combination. Either way, though, the idea is that you get a Scarf Bulldoze off, you drop your opponent's speed while activating Solgaleo's weakness policy, and thanks to dynamic speed, that often allows Solgaleo to immediately just go first and potentially knock something out. So Solgaleo plus Spectre was a combo I liked a lot in Series 8, and I think was kind of underrated back then, so I'm excited to try it out again. And then you also have Calm Mind Kyogre, which is a set like we definitely have not used nearly as much as all the other Kyogre sets, right? I think in Series 8 and 11, definitely played with a lot of Choice Scarf Kyogre, a lot of Mystic Water Kyogre, a lot of Assault Vest Kyogre, but Calm Mind plus Lefty's definitely not on that list that we tried out nearly as much. So it's a lot bulkier, a lot slower, but the idea is that you can take attacks a lot better and actually heal decently, especially because this team has a Pollen Puff Amoonguss. That's really valuable in keeping Kyogre around for a lot longer, as well as Solgaleo. And then finally, you've got Raichu. That Lightning Rod support's just important to protect Kyogre and Articuno from big, powerful attacks. And you've got Nuzzle, Brutal Swing, Volt Switch, and Fake Out. So the Brutal Swing is another nice way to activate Policy on Solgaleo while also putting on Fake Out pressure. And with Focus Sash, it's pretty hard to actually deny that activation. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff on this team, so I'm so excited to dive into it. Let's get started. All right, getting into things here, and oh boy. Kyogre, Zacian, Blastoise, Shedinja, Chansey, Gothitelle. Okay. Interesting. I'm intrigued by Articuno given the Kyogre and the Blastoise on their team. Chansey's going to be a nightmare. I think I'm okay leading Spectre or Solgaleo because I can just go for Bulldoze stuff immediately. Kyogre in the back, and then Articuno is the final one. Amoonguss maybe isn't terrible here because even a single Spore goes a long way in shutting my opponent down. Raichu I don't really love because we don't have a way to pivot out like Volt Switch. So without that, then like we often are kind of dead weight after turn 1. Oh, actually there is Volt Switch on this set. Never mind. Yeah, I think the main reason I was hesitant about bringing it is because it just doesn't offer me very much offense, and it's like I already have Solgaleo to enable the Spectrier. Spectrier to enable Solgaleo. It is late. It's been a long day. So let's see. Let's see what they opt for. It's definitely an intriguing team. Okay, it's going to be Zacian and Shedinja. I mean, I'm okay going for a turn 1. You know what's actually really interesting? We've got this Scarf Will-O-Wisp. So, like, I'm actually down to just Will-O-Wisp the Shedinja. Because I kind of expect Ally Switch in this position, and Rock Slide here. If they Ally Switch, well, then I'll just burn your... Okay, they protect here. So let's see if Shedinja's protecting. Either way, it's a good start to the battle for us. Interesting. No protect. Could be a Will-O-Wisp from their Shedinja's end, which would obviously be a problem. But eliminating Shedinja early on in the game, I'm always happy with. The idea here is that it covered for a turn 1 Ally Switch. They should be Focus Sash, right? Surely. Yeah. Okay. So I'm guessing they're going for a Will-O-Wisp or maybe a Ghost-type attack onto my Spectrier. Yeah, it's going to be a Will-O-Wisp of their own, so they are going to burn my Solgaleo. But you get a knockout on one of your Pokemon immediately, and I've still got this Choice Scarf Will-O-Wisp, which my opponent certainly is not going to anticipate. It was a nice play on their end ultimately, though, because, yeah, had they made Ally Switch, or gone for the Ally Switch play on turn 1, I would have punished them super, super heavily. So instead, they just decided to go for a burn, and that's a smart play. I could have opted for a Protect there on Solgaleo as well, but I wanted to cover for them Ally Switching in that position, potentially. Okay, so they're going to bring Kyogre out now. I'm free to just go for Will-O-Wisp onto the Zacian slot. They probably aren't going to expect the Choice Scarf here, so that gives us a good advantage. Now I've got Kyogre and Articuno in the back. Dynamaxing Articuno is actually kind of interesting. But I think for now, I'm just going to Will-O-Wisp and actually just protect my Solgaleo this turn. Okay, they do switch out Zacian, which I think is a good play. It is Chansey as their final one. They are going to Dynamax the Kyogre as well. Interesting. I mean, Chansey is mainly just a problem because of, like, Ally Switch and Minimize. So those are the two moves to watch out for. I'm actually very intrigued by the idea of potentially maxing the Articuno right now. The only downside is, yeah, like, by going for Will-O-Wisp on turn 1, I can't Bulldoze as effectively. But honestly, I'm okay with that. Ideally, they KO the Spectrier and then give me a free switch in right now into my Kyogre. I'd be okay with that. Will-O-Wisp on Chansey, not really that valuable since it can heal back with Soft Boiled, so not amazing, but that's okay. You go for Max Lightning. Okay, onto Spectrier. Lightning onto Spectrier is interesting. They're probably reading into a switch in that spot. Me switching certainly makes some sense. Going for Lightning over Geyser is interesting, though, because they're reading into the Kyogre switch out. Yeah, that makes sense. I have like 3 Pokemon, like, all can Dynamax. I really don't like the idea of maxing Solgaleo here. I mean, ideally, we bring out Kyogre, we get a Calm Mind off, and then Dynamax this Pokemon. Don't really want to switch out here, so I'm content to just Will-O-Wisp Kyogre. And honestly, might as well fish for a flinch on Chansey. Right now, basically, I got my opponent to Dynamax first, so I'm essentially trying to stall out their Dynamax and then get a free switch into Articuno. Okay, we're faster than Kyogre. That should make sense, actually, given that we're Jolly 212 speed EVs. Okay, yeah, the Geyser Spectrier this time around. I could have switched in the Kyogre here, but it's like Spectrier has done its job at this point, in my opinion. We actually get the flinch on Chansey as well. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. I think they'd probably go for like a Minimize in that position. But preventing a Minimize is always very appreciated. Okay, so I can bring in Kyogre now on my end. We know they have Max Lightning, though, which is the scary thing. I've got this Articuno in the back. They should be faster with their Kyogre here. I'd be shocked if we outsped them. what I really want to go for is Protect here and then switch Solgaleo out into Articuno. This is just slightly risky because maybe they Geyser the Solgaleo, but I think from their end, there's very little incentive to actually knock out Solgaleo right now. So I'm making a pretty risky switch here. But I think in their position, like this accelerates the tempo significantly for me should they just end up targeting Kyogre. So let's see what they opt for here. I'm going to Protect. They're going to go for Lightning. Okay, perfect, into the Kyogre slot. This turn like is an interesting question about risk versus reward because it was pretty risky to make that switch. And it's Heal Pulse Chansey. Very interesting. Okay. Yeah, like this turn was really interesting about risk versus reward because if I lose Articuno there, I don't think I'm in super good shape to be honest, but Healer as well. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just like you don't see Chansey that frequently. Heal Pulse is actually a pretty cool tech. That is definitely not a common move. I'm actually down to like max Articuno and like Calm Mind here with Kyogre, Dynamax. And max Airstream into the Chansey. Because the thing is, we know Chansey has Heal Pulse. I mean, it could go for a Soft Boiled here as well. But the thing is, like, Calm Mind now is really, really strong for me. And by getting the Calm Mind off, it means that I should survive a Lightning, a Thunder from Kyogre onto my Kyogre as well. So, didn't really expect to Dynamax Articuno going into this one, but pretty hyped for it. And the idea here is then the next turn I can go for a double knockout, potentially. Okay, they actually go for Ally Switch, but that honestly works out totally fine with me. That's why I like Airstreaming Chansey there, because Chansey is very rarely going to carry Protect in that position, whereas Kyogre is more likely to carry Protect. So we get Airstream off. It's not a ton of damage, but that's okay. The idea is getting Speed Boost right now to Kyogre to ensure that I get this Calm Mind off and that I outspeed you next turn as well. Okay. Here's Calm Mind number 1. Should allow me to survive Thunder here from their Kyogre. Oh, they go for Water Spout, even better. That was a lot of damage, though. Is that a crit? Yeah. Okay, that's okay, though. Obviously frustrating, but it could be worse. My only fear now is that I'm actually in range of getting knocked out by them. That could be a problem. I think I'm down for Origin Pulse here, and then Airstream into the Kyogre slot. That could be a knockout in itself. Okay, yeah, they don't go for an Ally Switch this time around. It'll be close. I think Kyogre survives just with the Sliver here. We'll see. I don't know if a double up would have KO'd Chansey either, though, to be honest. Okay, Origin Pulse is going to double connect. Chansey's probably going to either go for Heal Pulse or Soft Boiled here, right? One of the two. Yeah, hangs on with the Sliver. Okay, that's a little disappointing. They go for Scald. Okay, that's fine. No burn. And it is going to be Heal Pulse. Now, I'm okay with Heal Pulse here. Because while you're able to heal up the Kyogre, you are at slightly lower HP, I think, than turn started. Oh, I guess the downside is that Rain is no longer around now, making this interesting as well. Okay. So it's like, do you want a Thunder? You're also doing less damage with Scald. Scald's Water Spout. No more Electricity either, which is good. Or no more Terrain, I should say. I almost want a Max Guard here, but I don't know if an Origin Pulse KOs the Chansey in this position. Especially without, like, the Rain being up. The other question is, does a Scald KO Articuno? Because if not, that's huge for us. I'm just worried about playing around Ally Switch later, so I think I am going to Origin Pulse here and then Airstream into Chansey. That covers for Ally Switch. Yeah, but not much reason to go for Ally Switch right now. And this is just a downside. Articuno's damage output is not exactly amazing. It's really not like the go-to Dynamax option with this team, right? When I've got two restricted Pokemon are pretty strong in maxing, but I felt like in the context of this game, it honestly made a lot of sense to max it, so I don't really regret that decision. Okay, either way, now we eliminate what I think is the most annoying Pokemon on their team, so no more ability to heal their Kyogre, which is at least good. Now the moment of truth. Do you one-shot my Articuno from the range that I'm at with Scald? Okay, it does get the KO, unfortunately. So it'll be an interesting endgame because I've got this fast Kyogre at +3 speed, and Solgaleo honestly doesn't have a bad matchup into Zacian either. So it's pretty easy for me to say bring out the Solgaleo here, protect the Kyogre, just go for an Earthquake for some chip damage into an Origin Pulse next turn. Like, it feels bad that I missed out on knockouts with Articuno, but it was still really valuable as a max option because we were, you know, out in a position where I could boost Kyogre speed, and I thought that was really important. The main really good turn for them was, yeah, getting that Heal Pulse off and missing the knockout on Kyogre. It may have been better for me to double up onto the Zacian there. Or, sorry, double up onto the Chansey. But I'm going to protect an Earthquake in this position, I think. The other question it comes down to, I think, is does Zacian have Play Rough? Because if not, then my Kyogre can actually survive, I think, a turn. They do have Play Rough, okay. So it's good to confirm that. Now, the thing is, I'm faster than Zacian right now this next turn, so I can get an Origin Pulse off before fainting. It's pretty good damage from EQ, actually. I think Origin Pulse into EQ should get the KO. And that's because we get a crit there, okay. And they actually went for the Thunder onto Kyogre as well, doubling up into it. The thing is, a Thunder should not KO me right now, so they need to double up onto Kyogre. This Calm Mindset was sick. Meaning, I'm good to just click Origin Pulse here. Into Earthquake. The scary thing is I do so little damage right now with Solgaleo thanks to that burn. Interesting. Okay, they actually offer the Protect on Zacian. I'm okay with that because I don't think a Thunder into a burnt EQ actually KOs my own Kyogre. And this allows me to actually further chip away at their Kyogre, which I'll take. And now you're relying on hitting a Thunder outside of the rain as well. Right, so yeah, I don't think EQ will get the knockout here outright, but then the thing is now this next turn I can just Origin Pulse EQ into a double KO. Yeah, my Kyogre takes nothing from that. We should be okay. Okay, they are going to connect on the Thunder. The scary thing here is crit or para. I think we should survive at least. Beautiful. Okay, we survive. No paralysis or crit. Okay, so now it's about hitting Origin Pulse into Zacian, which is scary. The other thing is, like, Earthquake's never going to KO myself here, so even if they go for the double protect, I'm fine just opting for the self EQ here. Like, us being burnt actually benefits us in this endgame because it allows me to go for it with more confidence. So it's a matter of hitting the Origin Pulse onto the Zacian mainly, I would say. Okay, Origin Pulse comes out from Kyogre, and it is going to double connect, which is fantastic. Beautiful, okay. Now if Zacian KOs the Kyogre, Earthquake becomes single target, and that should just get the knockout onto the Zacian. They actually offer Sacred Sword, which I think is smart. They were playing towards the Origin Pulse miss win con there, basically, which I think is really smart. But EQ now actually does not get the knockout, but they are low enough where I can just Ice Beam to finish it off. So this was a really wild game. Definitely did not play out how I expected it to, right? Because I ended up Dynamaxing Articuno, which is like just not as common as maxing Kyogre or Solgaleo with this team. But the idea was to get these speed boosts onto Kyogre, and after a Calm Mind with leftovers, we're actually put in a pretty good position. And part of this is because of how tricky turn 1 played out for me, right? Where my opponent actually managed to get a burn onto my Solgaleo. That obviously causes some problems. And it's like, yeah, Articuno didn't do very much damage, but Dynamax Solgaleo is doing even less damage and also really getting me nowhere because I can't boost my speed. And then, like, I could maybe have played towards Dynamax Kyogre, but then I'm left with regular Articuno, and regular Articuno would just faint too quickly from any move from the Kyogre from their end. So the idea is, like, maxing Articuno here was more, like, of a defensive play to make sure that I can actually, like, get a bunch of turns with my max while also boosting Kyogre's speed. But I definitely did not expect to Dynamax Articuno with my first game with this team, so we'll take it. And that's really cool to see. I think it's actually better off than as a non-max option, but I was kind of forced into it. So fun win to get things started, and you got to showcase a lot of cool things here, right? Us having Will-O-Wisp on the Spectrier and the Choice Scarf, scaring away the Zacian. We also, of course, had the Calm Mind on the Kyogre, which was really essential in allowing me to survive a Thunder later on. So all of that added up, and it's cool to, you know, anytime you use the team with some slightly unorthodox sets, to feature them immediately. So really happy about that first one, and let's keep things going. Alright, second match of the day, and it's Yveltal Zacian with Raichu, Landorus, Sableye, and Amoonguss. I think we're pretty Yveltal weak here, which is not good. I wonder if they're Policy Yveltal given their Raichu. Like, you could self-Volt Switch into activating the Policy. I'm intrigued by the idea of Calm Mind Kyogre, and I actually think Amoonguss with Koba might be our savior here to try to put the Yveltal to sleep. So, for example, something like an Amoonguss plus Kyogre lead. The reason why Yveltal is such a bad matchup is because it really does not allow me to spam Spectre or Solgaleo, because you can Sucker Punch Spectre to just KO it. You can Foul Play Solgaleo should I boost my own attack, and I can't even Bulldoze their Yveltal. So that's probably actually the single-handed, like, worst restricted Pokemon for us to run into here. Which obviously makes things tougher. I think I'm still going to bring it in the back, though, because if we eliminate Yveltal, it actually completely paves the way for Solgaleo to sweep this game. But this is a really scary-looking team, and, you know, my opinion of Yveltal is definitely increased from the previous restricted formats. I always thought Yveltal was already pretty good in the previous restricted formats, but in Series 12, you can just cover for its weaknesses so much more because you get a second restricted, right? So it's like, in Series, what is it, 8/11, using Yveltal just felt kind of bad because, like, you'd run into so many Zacian teams, and it's like, there's a lot you can do in the team building process to, like, improve the matchup, but single-handed, like, it just, in a vacuum, 1v1, it was just so bad. Whereas here, like, my opponent has their own Zacian, that already helps, but then you also have a lot of support, like the Sableye here, which can, you know, like Will-O-Wisp. Sableye's a pretty interesting pick as well, kind of underused, I feel like, at the moment. So the question I have first is, does the Sableye have Fake Out or Taunt? Normally you'd run one of the two at least, I would expect. Well, I think I'm just going to go for Spore and a Calm Mind turn 1, and we'll see how things play out here. Could be something like a Taunt into a... Okay. The immediate Sunny Day. I'll actually gladly take that. It's probably a Snarl, yeah. Interesting that they don't really care about the Spore from Amoonguss. I wonder if that was them reading into me, like, surely protecting or switching out because Sableye so often carry Fake Out or Taunt, and because Yveltal, of course, is a flying type that threatens Amoonguss. But the reason I stayed in here was because I knew I could take an attack from the Yveltal with the Koba Berry, right? And we get Spore off. Okay, they're not goggles or anything. Yeah, that's definitely a nice turn for us. I will take that gladly. Interesting. Okay, so now I put your Yveltal to sleep. The idea is, can I KO you as quickly as possible now? I'm going to go for a Spore onto the Sableye slot and then go for a Calm Mind here. I want to see the rest of Sableye's moveset. I really would be surprised if it didn't have Will-O-Wisp. I think Will-O-Wisp is just one of the best moves right now because of the amount of, you know, physical restricted Pokemon running around. Okay, Yveltal, interesting. So Sableye's not opting for a Prankster priority boosted attack. So what are you going for then? Foul play? Yeah, wow. Okay, I'll take it. You're not goggles here either, which is great. This is not how I have expected it to play out at all, but I'll gladly take it. Okay, so now is a big question. Do I think they're weakness policy on the Yveltal? Could be, especially with Raichu on the team. So you could self-Volt Switch. Like, I'm intrigued by the idea of Pollen Puff into a Calm Mind. And it's like, if Yveltal wakes up, well, I could just put you back to sleep. Like, my opponent did not do a very good job of denying the spores on Amoonguss here. Okay, yeah, they are going to wake up. They're going to Snarl. Amoonguss dodges it. Okay. So this is the only awkward thing where it's like they're mitigating my damage, but the thing is I did not want to Dynamax there, click max Hailstorm, and then have them be weakness policy, like survive, and then max the Yveltal to just KO me right now. I also think we're better off maxing Solgaleo in this endgame. This is a weird early game. But I'm okay playing it patiently because my Kyogre is pretty boosted right now. It's only at +1 special attack and it'll be back down to neutral, but I'm down to just go for Spore here and Calm Mind. What'll be awkward, though, is if they do manage to wake up with Sableye and they actually have Taunt. But I feel like if you had Taunt, like, why would you not go for it the turn you went for Foul Play? It just doesn't make much sense to me. Unless, like, you really expect Amoonguss to switch out, but I had already shown that I was willing to stay in and just go for Spore at that point. So the worst case scenario would be like they manage to wake up with Sableye, they actually have Taunt, and then they just Snarl me again. Because the thing is, like, I'm not actually getting much mileage out of Calm Minds when they're decreasing my special attack. But I'd say the odds are in my favor right now because you need early wake-ups as soon as you get like a 2 or 3 turn sleep with Yveltal. Especially after this Spore, you're in a lot of trouble. So this is why it's so important on teams to have anti-sleep, right? Like Sleep Powder, they actually go for Oblivion Wing. But this is where having Koba Berry is so nice. And so having Safety Goggles, for example, having Grass-type Pokemon, having a Lumberry is so important because otherwise this Amoonguss can just do this. And that's why I like fully expected Sableye to have Taunt. And so the fact that it didn't makes things so much easier for us right now. I think the one thing I want to watch out for is a potential Encore from Sableye, so this next turn I am going to go for a Rage Powder, and I think it's finally time to Dynamax with the Kyogre. Actually, no, we don't have to, right? Because Yveltal is taking a guaranteed first in the sleep right now, so maxing actually doesn't get me anywhere. So what we can actually do is Rage Powder, and actually just Ice Beam here. This is a game about patience right now. Like, you're probably looking or watching and being like, why don't you just Dynamax? Why don't you just start attacking? But the thing is, you have to consider every possibility. And I would really have pushed the tempo if I had attacked into Yveltal earlier when it could wake up the subsequent turn and has the threat of carrying a weakness policy. Okay, they managed to wake up. They just go for Will-O-Wisp. This is like Sableye syndrome, right? Sableye can be such a valuable Pokemon, but the thing is, right now, it just does nothing for my opponent other than set up the sun, essentially. So the thing is, now, even if Yveltal is Policy and wakes up, well, the next turn I can just Rage Powder with Amoonguss and just get the KO onto it anyway. And actually, Ice Beam just one-shots it there, so the beauty of Calm Mind Kyogre. Probably wasn't Assault Vest then, right? That's also 3 of Sableye's moves revealed already. Sunny Day, Will-O-Wisp, and Foul Play. So I'm guessing the last attack is going to be Quash, given that they didn't go for a Fake Out in the beginning of this game, or go for a Taunt. Quash is just one of the main reasons you also want to run Sableye in general. Okay. They bring out Zacian now. I could max Kyogre, honestly. I mean, if I were them, I would probably Sunny Day and then KO Amoonguss here. Quash is actually kind of annoying right now. Part of my question is, does a +2 max Hailstorm KO Sableye? I'm not super confident on it, honestly. But I think it's kind of hard to actually get the Policy activated on Solgaleo at this point in the game anyway. And they could totally have Play Rough on this Zacian. So, okay, I'm down for a Rage Powder here. Dynamax, and then go for Hailstorm onto Sableye. The idea here is it, plays around the Sunny Day. If we can knock out Sableye, that would be amazing. Because if I knock out Sableye, then I get a free switch into the Spectrier, and then the Spectrier can just go for Will-O-Wisp onto the Zacian. And if we burn the Zacian, like, that's the majority of your damage output now removed from the game. So, yeah. This is why it's really important to have Taunt, or Safety Goggles, or Lawnmower, or Grass type. Because Amoonguss just causes so many issues otherwise. And Amoonguss has really just historically been one of the best Pokemon in the history of VGC. It continues to be the case here. Yeah, they go for Sunny Day. That's the other reason to not Geyser here, because I don't think +2 Geyser in Sun KO Zacian. If I can't one-shot it, I'd rather eliminate Sableye, because Sableye is actually a huge nuisance with its move pool. I'm just not sure +2 Hailstorm actually gets the KO here, which is my concern, because this Kyogre doesn't have that much special attack investment. But we'll see. Switching Amoonguss out there could have been an interesting consideration, just going out into Solgaleo, but I think Amoonguss has honestly done its job, and I can't see it really getting another powerful attack off anyway, or Spore, I should say. Ooh, does Sableye faint from Hail here? I think it literally will either have 1 or 2 HP or faint, like it's in that range. So let's see. I feel like it's just outside of KO range, but I'm not sure. Oh! Oh, that's sad. Okay. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Because what I can do is go into Spectrier. And I have Choice Scarf. They're not going to expect that. So what this means is with Spectrier out, I'm assuming their last one is Quash right now. I can go for Will-O-Wisp onto the Zacian and go for Max Geyser. If you go for Quash on a Spectrier, well then Geyser just knocks out the Zacian, and that's your main offense now eliminated. I guess the key thing to think about is that my opponent hasn't Dynamaxed yet. So it's like, their final Pokemon's probably what, Landorus? This is what, Landorus, Raichu, and Amoonguss? Like, Yveltal is just by far the best max option on that team. And Kyogre has a pretty favorable matchup into most of those, although the special defense boost's not really valuable against the Landorus. Could have also opted just for a Bulldoze here, but Kyogre doesn't have any speed investment. Okay, they opt for Sunny Day. Cool, works for me. Yeah, I don't get a knockout here, but I am able to burn your Zacian. As long as we don't miss Will-O-Wisp. This is actually a huge Will-O-Wisp. And we do connect. Okay, beautiful. Okay, cool. So now your restricted Pokemon is burnt. And that's the beauty of Choice Scarf, right? Okay, Swords Dance. Normally that'd be scary, but in this spot, honestly, not too bad. I'll take it. I wonder how much Geyser does in the sun here. Not bad, honestly, especially with burn damage ticking as well. I think we should switch out the Spectrier right now, though. So I'm down to switch this out into Solgaleo. And I'm down to Hailstorm here because Hailstorm plus Burn plus Hail should knock out the Zacian, and then Sableye should faint as well from the Hail. Okay. Yeah, there's the Quash finally. But I'm Scarfed, right? So I can't even do anything. And Behemoth Blade Cold. That should win us the game. I mean, they have a Dynamax left still, but it's 3v1. So the tough thing about having a Dynamax is that in this position, you actually like struggle more because you can only knock out one Pokemon at a time rather than two. This game just highlighted how good Amoonguss can be, right? Like, my opponent just really didn't have a good answer into it, and I think like they played really loosely in the first 2 or 3 turns of the game. Maybe reading into me like switching out with Amoonguss. Now, granted, if I don't have Koba Berry on the Amoonguss, right, I am a lot more inclined to think about switching out because I have to respect Yveltal Maxi and going for Max Airstream. But because of the Koba, I could play as loosely as I did. And that once again highlights how important like your item decision alone for Pokemon, you know, it can make such a big difference. So this was not going to be an easy matchup because I couldn't approach it the normal way, right? Like with this team, it'd be amazing to just lead the Solgaleo plus the Spectre and then go from there. But it just doesn't make that much sense in the context of this matchup. Their last one is indeed going to be that Landorus here. So it's not over yet for my opponent. I think there's still definitely a possibility that they can win right now. But I'm feeling really good about my spot, obviously. Kyogre is also so bulky here. Like, this is already a very bulky Kyogre set. I mean, the stat boosts don't make a difference, but just the EV spread on this Kyogre allows it to be really tanky. So I should even survive a Life Orb max move from Landorus, I think, allowing me to just Sunsteel Strike and Ice Beam to finish off this game. And this game just highlights, I think, what I like to call like Sableye syndrome, where the Sableye just contributed very little to the battle, right? And that's because it's such a support-oriented Pokemon. I'm not really using my physical attackers early on in this game. Like, imagine if I led Spectre Solgaleo, I just get wrecked by Foul Play and all the Dark-type attacks, right? From Sableye as well as from the Yveltal. So Amoonguss was really our best shot at winning this game. The one thing I really wanted to be cautious of was the potential policy on the Yveltal and like activating it, then allowing them to Dynamax and then just sweep me from that position. Because Yveltal was just such a big threat. So we had to find kind of a creative way to beat it, but was able to actually do that. So I'm happy about it. Either way, though, really fun to highlight some of the cool sets on this team, including that Calm Mind, as well as the Amoonguss with the Pollen Puff, really allowing Kyogre to stay on the field for so much longer. And in the end, we ended the game with full HP on Kyogre, which I would not have expected given the early game. So let's look for one more. All right, last one of the day here, and it is Zacian plus Dialga. So unfortunately, and another Sableye, which I wouldn't have expected. Unfortunately, it's not a great matchup for Articuno, and I was really hoping to bring that out once more. But you know what, Articuno had a really amazing performance in game 1, so I can't really complain. Maybe I can bring it in the back. I'm slightly intrigued by Spectre Solgaleo here, but I think Amoonguss lead from their end, or Sableye lead from their end makes a lot of sense. Sableye Zacian, Sableye Dialga. Sableye has no fun here. Honestly, I think I'm okay with the Amoonguss, Kyogre, Solgaleo. I should probably bring Spectrier, but I think Articuno is just so cool that I'm going to give it a shot here. You know, it's got a good matchup until a Rillaboom, until a Whimsicott. Sableye, it doesn't do that much into it either. Like, I think Spectrier definitively is the better pick just because of its ability to Will-O-Wisp the Zacian. That single-handedly would be a reason to bring it, right? Kind of like what I did in the last game, but I think Articuno still has some value here. The matchups you really want to bring Articuno out in are the ones where you're going up against like strong water types, right? So like Kyogre, right, is a big one. There are a lot of Gastrodons running around as well. That's one of the primary reasons that Articuno actually exists on this team, as I mentioned earlier, is to cover for Gastrodon because otherwise your Kyogre is going to struggle a little bit in terms of damage output. So this team has Articuno as well as Amoonguss to deal with potential Gastrodons, and that's really one of the more common Pokemon in the format at the moment because of its ability to match up against Kyogre plus Zacian, which is one of, if not the most common restricted duel. So they're going to go with Sableye and Dialga. Okay. question is, can I get away with sporing like I did in the previous game? Dialga also can carry Max Lightning, which is one other thing to worry about. Fake out into Max Lightning here is a big problem. I think I'm down to Rage Powder and Calm Mind turn one and kind of test the waters and see where they want to go for. I actually wouldn't have minded a Kyogre Protect and a Spore with Amoonguss on turn one either, because I think... Well, the question is how much does my opponent assess Amoonguss as a threat? Like, that last game did not play out how I expected it to at all, because I thought, like, surely Sableye had a way to stop the Amoonguss, right? And they actually didn't, because they were running Quash Foul Play, Sunny Day, and Will-O-Wisp. So no Fake Out or Taunt. Okay, they are going to just max Dialga immediately here. Best case would be like a Quash into a Max Lightning turn one to just deny Spore, and then I actually get a Calm Mind off. That'd be really sweet. Because I think one approach we can take in this game, and actually, given that I brought Articuno, it could be an interesting Dynamax option once again, solely for Max Airstream, although I don't love it because of its weakness into the Steel types here. Okay, we will get Rage Powder off. I'm expecting Taunt this time around. Wow. Sableye didn't go for any Prio. But Max Hailstorm actually one-shots Amoonguss. I have to say, I'm actually kind of surprised about that, but I'm sure they're Life Orb then. It's a very nice play by them then. He's just going for Foul Play? Yeah, it's Life Orb. I mean, I'm sure it's coming off Blizzard, right? And so, base 140, super effective, max move. Makes sense. That's the tricky thing about Dialga. It gets access to like 7 good typings in terms of its attacks. Interesting, they just opted for Foul Play, okay. I bet the idea there is essentially to cover for Focus Sash Amoonguss, right? Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. So it could have been interesting if I actually protected Amoonguss, but I actually don't have Protect, so that was, never mind, not an option. Boy. Now what? I mean, if Articuno allows me to get a Tailwind off here, that would be huge. Dialga's probably max speed here. I could bait a Steel Spike and actually switch out into Solgaleo. I need speed control though, is the problem. I'm honestly down for a Tailwind here. Tailwind into Geyser. How fast is your Dialga is my question. And then also does Sableye opt for a Quash / Taunt onto the Articuno slot? Yeah, so they were definitely just going Hailstorm Foul Play to absolutely deny Amoonguss from a Spore turn one, which is really smart, right? That's something my opponent actually couldn't have really done effectively in the first game because Max Airstream would have been significantly weaker from Yveltal thanks to the Copa Berry. I mean, if Articuno gets a Tailwind off here, though, I actually think it's significantly in our favor going into this endgame. Because it means then I just have this +1 Kyogre that will outspeed and just can like one-shot the Zacian with Rain Up. I just don't think I get Tailwind off. I think Articuno is probably getting targeted here. But I don't have Protect, so the only other consideration was to switch it out into Solgaleo. They go for a Will-O-Wisp. Okay. How fast is your Dialga now? Will-O-Wisp is really surprising. Nice! Articuno gets the Tailwind up for us. That's absolutely huge. Okay. And that allows me to now just one-shot Sableye, I think. I don't have to worry about something like a Sash because of the hail damage as well. Okay, nice. We are back into things. That's so clutch from Articuno, though. I can't express that enough. Like, the fact that we outspeed and then get the Tailwind up and then they don't even deny me Tailwind is amazing. They go for Lightning onto Articuno. That is fine. Articuno has done its job. Like, just single-handedly getting Tailwind up is so good for us. Okay. So now I have Tailwind up. They have one more turn of Dynamax, whereas I have 2. I've got a Kyogre that has +1 special attack, +1 special defense, and is Dynamaxed. I can bring in Solgaleo. I would expect Zacian to come out for them. It's Rillaboom. Very smart. That's going to be a problem for me. That is going to be a problem for me. Oh boy. Okay. Now the thing is, Kyogre is very bulky. So I can definitely take a Grassy Glide from the Rillaboom. The problem is a Grassy Glide into a Max Lightning onto Kyogre. Yep, that is a problem. I almost want to double protect here just to stall out their last turn of Dynamax. But I also don't think Solgaleo's at much risk this turn, so I'm just going to protect the Kyogre. I just don't want to get doubled up and then get wrecked by yeah, they went for Glide. Dialga max move here. They're a lot less scary if they don't have a max move. Smart decision to bring Rillaboom here. It's like definitely tough because of its matchup into Solgaleo, but it makes sense because it's so good into Kyogre, right? It's like here, even though I have this Kyogre that's boosted and like feels like it should be in a really good spot, that's actually not the case. Okay. I'll definitely survive a Grassy Glide right now. They have Thunder though, so the main play to watch out for now is Grassy Glide into Thunder, double up onto Kyogre, right? I wonder if that gets the knockout though, honestly. I'm down for a Rock Slide here because a flinch would be absolutely huge. Another question is, what item do I think their Rillaboom has? How many turns of trainer left? 4. Not good. Grassy Glide into Thunder into Kyogre is what I expect right now. Okay, I think I'm gonna hope to basically survive that double up. I'm gonna go for Geyser here because I don't want to change into Hail yet. Yep, there's Glide. Okay, yeah, we should take that. Cool. And the idea behind going for a Rock Slide, going for a flinch here is I'm not doing much damage with my other attacks anyway, so yeah, might as well just fish for a flinch while I can. The only scary thing is, like, I spent 2 turns of my Kyogre Dynamax already, right? Sorry, not 2 turns. I've spent 3 turns of its Dynamax, meaning that now it's just set up for the Zacian endgame. Yeah, we survived Thunder. Cool. Does it paralyze us? Okay, no paralysis either. The problem, though, is that EQ from Solgaleo is very bad with grassy terrain right now. I think that may cause some significant problems for me. Okay, so I'm sure Zacian's their final Pokemon right now. Yep. Got +1 Origin Pulse in Rain. The other question is, does Dialga have Protect in this position? Last turn of Tailwind on my end. I am just going to EQ into Origin Pulse here, because I don't think it would get a knockout onto either, but I need damage right now, and Solgaleo's just not offering me very much. Okay, Zacian protects, that's fine. The main question is whether or not Dialga also carries it. They don't have it, okay. I don't think EQ should KO myself here, right? If so, that's a problem. Yeah, I just don't think Origin Pulse gets the knockout either, unfortunately. I even crit myself, wow. Could have gone for the Rock Slide flinch then? And I miss Origin Pulse. Okay, that'll be game then. I think I could have won if I had hit that, depending on how much it does and how defensive their Dialga is, but I could have opted for Ice Beam there, of course, as well, but I thought Origin Pulse was just the better play because it covers for them, you know, actually like reading and attacking with Zacian. Two Peters out. I mean, how many turns of terrain are left? Like, maybe Solgaleo theoretically could still pull this off, but the thing is, I really needed that burst in damage there, so I might as well protect here, but I think that will seal up the game, unfortunately. It's a shame. Articuno actually put in work here as well, but was not enough, even with the Tailwind, and that's because my opponent made the smart decision in bringing that Rillaboom. Okay, they opt for Thunder. I think I'm just taking too much damage from Sacred Sword, honestly. Like a +1 Sacred Sword into Solgaleo, even though I'm 220 HP, 4 defense on the EV spread, just not enough. The reason why I thought we could have won if we hit the Origin Pulse is even if it doesn't KO Dialga, I would think an EQ would finish it off. Like, Origin Pulse would still just do so much damage because I expect Dialga to not be very tanky. And the thing is, I can actually expect to take 2 Sacred Swords here, as you can see, right? Yeah, I feel like if... I don't know, it's kind of close. Would Origin Pulse have done that much? They have Earth Power. Yeah, now it's fine Earth Power because you don't have to worry about, like, policy activation. So, nicely done. This was a really good game. I can't really complain. Like, would have been nice to see how much Origin Pulse would have done to the Dialga there, because the idea is even if we don't KO, I could finish you off with an Earthquake, and then it's Solgaleo versus Zacian 1v1, and then EQ is single target, and I'm about to stall a Grassy Terrain as well, so I just protect into EQ the subsequent turn, so yeah. Okay, so let me think about what I could have done a little bit better in that matchup. Like, Sableye lead was problematic. Their turn 1 was really strong. I don't have an easy answer to Dialga here plus Sableye. I think they just found the best lead by far, and even with the Calm Mind, like, they brought the best 4 Pokemon, and they, like, yeah, having Rillaboom in the back was really smart. When I brought Articuno, I think I needed to go for Tailwind there. I guess the one play that I'm thinking about is the turn that they went for Grassy Glide into Max Lightning on Kyogre. Like, did I have a chance of surviving there, potentially? And then the other consideration was the turn I got hit by Glide on Kyogre. Maybe instead of targeting Rillaboom, I actually should have targeted the Dialga and tried to snipe that off. Because Dialga is actually the main offensive threat to my Solgaleo in the end game. So, yeah. I don't think that was the easiest matchup, but I'm pretty happy about Articuno's performance today. Like, we didn't really get to use it just in regular form because we didn't go up against, like, any Gastrodon teams. But we got a lot of value out of its Dynamax in Game 1, and even though we didn't win this one, Tailwind was really valuable for me in this third match as well, and gave me another dimension of speed control that my opponent clearly wasn't expecting, right? And so this was a close one. Would have been cool to see how it would have played out if Origin Pulse hit. It comes down to how bulky the Dialga is, right? And how well it takes the +1 Origin Pulse in rain. I think that it probably survives, especially thanks to the Grassy Terrain recovery. It survives that plus an EQ, but I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah. Anyway, though, that's going to be it for this episode. So I hope you enjoyed this team. I think it's really, really unique. It's got a lot of fun stuff. So, yeah. Details in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right. Peace.